Welcome to StrengthsQuest. This presentation is meant to be an introduction and help you understand what StrengthsQuest is and how it can benefit you. By now you should have completed the online assessment with the email instructions that were sent to you. If not, please go back and complete that first, then come back and watch this video. So with StrengthsQuest, you will be able to do a number of different things. This presentation today will help you kind of be able to understand and define the terms and concepts related to strengths. You'll also be able to kind of describe your 5 themes and how these themes will impact your behavior. As we move along in the course, in a sense, you will be able to identify how these individual themes can be used within various areas of your life. So within your academics and your studies and how they can kind of benefit you in respect to that. Even to some extent, maybe even career major preparation, but typically these strengths can be applied to multiple environments and not really just generated to one thing or geared or to one area or such. Also in your extracurricular activities, kind of really helping you better understand how you're kind of going through them and participating in those activities and the sort of things and strengths that you have that can better enhance that experience. Also your personal relationships as to how you can your interactions with others and helping you to better understand them. Sometimes when there's things in which kind of irritate us or sort of bother us about a certain individual, usually that's what we call a barrier that's coming out in a sense of strengths, and that is something that is something within the individual that is a strength and talent of theirs, and it's just inherently in them in a sense. So and with that, it kind of is something in which we'll be able to see and recognize in a way. And then, as I said, recognizing strengths in others. So that is the eventual goal, is that you'll be able to understand and identify the talents of those individuals, and because of that, be able to effectively lead those groups, because by integrating the strengths of one individual into a group of other individuals effectively, you hope to be able to successfully lead those people. So, and then lastly is to have fun with this, is, with the classmates in a sense, and even with yourself, is to understand the sort of strengths in which you have, and be able to compare them to others, and see how they interact and how they can work together with one another. So you may be asking, like, what is a strength? And then sometimes I may use the word interchangeable with talent or theme or something. But you can kind of see that in a sense, and you expect to hear that at times. But according to StrengthsQuest, the strength is the ability to provide a consistent, near-perfect performance in a given activity. So by understanding what it is that you do well, and being able to apply that to the sort of areas that you, or the sort of environments that you do well and environments that you don't do well, but being able to produce very positive outcomes that you and others can be satisfied with. So this is a formula that they've come out with. You can see where talent plus skills plus knowledge equals strengths, and that's something in which we talked about creating that near performance, or perfect performance each time with a given activity. So to kind of further break that down just a little bit, you can kind of see the definitions for this. A talent being a naturally reoccurring pattern of thought, feeling, or behavior that can be productively applied. So these are non-teachable. These are things that are inherently within you as an individual, and something that you just naturally do well. Some people, as you can see, are naturally better communicators in a sense, and whether it's an oral or written thought and such, but they can just do so. Others need to work on it in a sense and be more prepared with their practice and their execution of it in a way. Or it could be in the way in which someone is just a naturally gifted basketball player or something. It's just they're just able to pick up the ball and to play quite well, while others need to be exposed to more coaching and more practice in a sense to be able to kind of achieve the same sort of things in which they are. So those are things that are non-teachable in a sense. Skills are the capacity to perform fundamental steps in an activity. So these things can be taught. So if you're looking at the analogy of a basketball that I was talking about, um, these sort of skills are going to be like, learning, to pass and to dribble and to shoot in a sense. These are all things that every individual can be taught, but kind of depending on their level of talent as to how well they'll effectively be able to do it, but also as to how much energy and focus they need to pour into it to achieve the same thing. As you very well may know, that some people are just more talented, it doesn't take as much effort, while others need to pour more into it in a sense, and then to achieve the same sort of result. So, um, and then lastly, knowledge in a sense, simply knowing what you're aware of. So for basketball, once again, it's knowing a position, whether it's a guard or a center or a forward or something of that nature, and knowing how that position plays, or knowing the offense in which you're running or the defense in which you're running or something. So, and as you become um, more of a skilled individual and gaining more expertise, the more complex those sort of things become. And by coupling all these three things together will equal strength in a sense. So, um, and that's kind of the definition in which we have and will operate from. So you may be wondering, well, how does this even come about? Like, where did this come from and such? And this is probably the first time you're ever hearing of StrengthsQuest. Well, Gallup, if you're familiar with them, they do a lot of political polls and such, and are very popular and famous for that. They have more than 75 years of global research. It's a lot of it has to go into the attitudes and behaviors of the individuals, and better understanding that. So they're just not in the political realm of things. They also do a lot of things in regards to leadership, a lot of stuff with strengths, a lot of things understanding organizational behavior and the people within it. And they have a very strong reputation worldwide, and is considered one of the best. Now, Strengths was developed starting in 1999, and it was created by Donald Clifton, PhD, and created this program based on what is right with people and what they do well. In the past, a lot of psychology focused, and a lot of things focused people on what is wrong and what they don't do well, and how to work on your weaknesses to make you a better person in a sense, or make you a better professional and skilled in a way, which that is true to some extent. But strengths comes from the philosophy of understanding the sort of talents and strengths that you have as an individual, and to work on to refining those to make them even better in a sense. And then also by understanding those sort of strengths and very, very well, that you can apply those to the weaknesses in which you have, in a combination of a way that will help you to perform better with those weaknesses. So it kind of does a reverse approach as to what many people are quite accustomed to. But StrengthsQuest is widely used. It's very popular on college campuses. Over 600 colleges use StrengthsQuest, and it's most likely, or will most likely, where you end up choosing college, they will use StrengthsQuest, which will provide you a leg up on the students who are coming in as freshmen. And who knows, you can possibly be involved in facilitating some of the activities and things, and kind of demonstrate a leadership role in that capacity. So, very popular and gaining a lot of strength, a lot of gaining a lot of popularity there on college campuses. So strengths research, there was a lot of research that was put into strengths and being able to formulate these talents and themes that they've created. So over 2 million interviews were done, and this spans over 3 decades. So as you can see, this is not just capturing one generation or something in a sense, but they've really expanded the sort of research that they have, and make sure it does well to encompass about everyone involved. It even goes over spanning over 30 unique cultures in a sense. So it's not just research that was done here on American citizens, but citizens from all over the world in a sense, and looking for the common themes and talents that they have and expect out of themselves. So, um, with that research, that led to 430 plus themes, or as like I said, interchangeable. They can be called strengths or talents or something of that nature. But 430 things that people saw in themselves that they saw as a strength or a talent in which they were able to possess. Now, 430 something themes, talents is quite a bit, and for any individual, and for most, would be too comprehensive in a sense to really learn, or let alone trying to develop a structure to teach this sort of thing. So with that, what they ended up doing is they ended up condensing them down into 34 different strengths. Um, and and this made it much more effective in a way, and they did that by kind of taking and pulling a bunch of the ones they thought were very similar in nature, and kind of choosing very carefully a theme that would do well to kind of encapsulate what they thought was that talent. So as you can see, there's 4 different colors and bars and scents, in which there are 4 categories within these 34 strengths. There's one for relating, one for impacting, one for thinking, and one for striving. And I have a worksheet that I will pass out later in one of the classes, and we'll go through this a bit more in depth. But just know that there's 4 different categories within the 34 strengths, and it's something in which we'll look at a bit more closer. So with all this and these combinations in which we have, there are over 278,000 possible combinations. So it's very rare in a sense to find individuals who will have all 5 of your strengths. You may find someone who has, maybe 2, maybe 3 within their top 5. But what's even more important is the order in which they're in. So even if someone has all top 5 of your strengths, the order could very much be different in a way from yours. The other thing to think about is the 34 strengths that are given to you is that they're all ranked for you. Now, StrengthsQuest only chooses to give you the top 5 because they want to give you a small enough number that you can concentrate and focus on in a sense. But facilitators like myself, I know the order of all 34 of my strengths in a way, but then I still choose to concentrate on my top 5. Now, I sometimes see some of the others that are coming out into play at certain times, and there's one that's maybe being more relevant for a particular situation, or it naturally comes out a bit more within this certain sort of situation. And as you become more skilled with StrengthsQuest, it's quite possible that you may be able to identify a strength that's not in your top 5 that you see in certain times. And when you know you're getting to that point, you know that you have a really good grasp and understanding of strengths. So, as again, kind of going back to strengths and the philosophy of it, in the sense that strengths are natural. These are things that are innately within you that are you just do well. You may not notice it as much in the sort of things, but others will. And I do encourage you, when you get your strengths report, not only for you to read it and see what you think of it, which I would be shocked in a sense if you don't think that describes you very well, but to share it with someone else and see what they think of it. I bet to believe that they as well would be able to say, oh yeah, I see that, and definitely. And they'd hopefully maybe be able to identify some situations in which they can see that strength coming out in you. So what Strengths believes that weaknesses, fixing weaknesses prevents failure in a sense, and the whole premise behind Strengths is that you're performing at a high level at all times in a way, and especially in a certain situations and environments that you're suited for your strengths and that you understand it. But there will be some environments that you don't necessarily do so well. Now, you just we want to not only prevent failure, but we want to be able to succeed within those areas, and that you still perform at a high level. And by doing so, is taking the strengths in which you have and being able to understand how you can utilize them within that sort of activity that will still produce a very positive outcome for yourself. So, um, so with that, what we're looking to do is, to repeatedly achieve success within any sort of activity, environment, situation, or encounter that you may have with certain individuals in a sense. So, strengths, by understanding it and learning it, you'll really be able to understand it, and will then being able to see things through the strengths lens. At first, you'll be kind of maybe even hesitant in trying to use them. Um, but through time and through this course, we will focus and dedicate time, moments, part of the class to this, and through this the development, you'll be able to understand your strengths and eventually be able to effectively use them quite well. So thank you again, and see you in the first class.